Erick Brimen is going to join us. He is the founder and CEO of Prospera since 2017, and a lot's gone on since that. Erick, welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Keith. Good to be on with you.
What's new for Prospera? It seems like 2025 is a pivotal year. There's some new exciting developments going on right now. How do they reflect the vision of what you've been building toward?
Yes, absolutely. 2025 is a year full of great potential. As it has been announced late last year, we closed a new round of financing with significant capital partners with strategic value to bring to the table, namely Coinbase Ventures, which, as you know, Coinbase is the world's, I think, most preeminent crypto platform. Yes, they have an exchange, but they also have layer 2 technologies and much more. This is going to be transformational. It's not just an infusion of capital into Prospera as a venture, but it's an opening of a window into international capital bases through crypto, and the scale of trillions of dollars. I don't think any project has ever opened that window for Roatan, as we hope to do over the coming years. Obviously, 2025 is also a very political year with elections, and we are eagerly waiting to see how that turns out. And further, it's a year that is building upon 2024 in particular, where we started promoting the island through pop-up city events. Now Infinita, with people from all over the world in healthcare, in crypto, are coming, many of them or most of them for the first time to Roatan, and they're getting to see the beauty and the potential of this island. Many of them are starting to want to call it their own home, but often, if nothing else, an initial place to invest through a residence or businesses. So it's an acceleration year, God willing.
We've seen a flurry of activity from Prospera to kick off 2025. Can you walk us through these recent innovation-focused events, and what are your goals? What are their goals? How do they fit into the broader Prospera strategy, Erick?
Sure. Well, let me start just by reiterating what is the objective of Prospera as a foundation, and then 2025, I think, will make a lot of sense. What we seek to do, Keith, through Prospera is to create the conditions to maximize economic activity and prosperity. Obviously, that's our name. But what the heck does this mean, right? How do you apply this in reality? Well, you create the conditions for business to flourish by combining real estate facilities with legal and regulatory conditions. This is where the ZEDE structure, or the special economic zone regime, makes the difference. By incorporating special provisions in how you can do business within the zone, it enables businesses from anywhere in the world to come and set up shop here with a reciprocal regulatory framework. This means that a German company can set up shop and follow German regulatory regimes and still be considered to be operating within Prospera lawfully. Doing this opens the door to global innovations to take place in one place, where otherwise it would take sometimes a decade for all those authorities and authorizations to happen in one place. Let's pick, for example, healthcare in the United States. If you want to carry out the most advanced treatment in the United States, you have to get every single part of it approved by the FDA. Not only are the doctors having to be licensed in the US, but the drugs and the therapies have to be approved by the FDA, medical devices, medical procedures, medical facilities. Instead, in Prospera, you can combine a doctor that is licensed in any OECD country with a therapy that is approved in any OECD country, and a medical device and a medical therapy. So you get to leapfrog by shortening the time and reducing the expenditures, and to do it in one place when it has already been approved elsewhere in the world. So with these capabilities, as you can imagine, we're able to attract a number of innovative enterprises. Some of them are startups, some of them are well-established, but all of them are looking to combine the beauty of what Roatan has to offer with the real estate that we're building within Prospera, layering in the legal and regulatory provisions that enable them to compete, sometimes globally, basing themselves out of here. So our strategy for this year in the first quarter is to do another pop-up city event, which is Infinita. They are a strategic partner. They're very much focused in longevity and regenerative medicine, so healthcare and crypto. In fact, we're currently doing the crypto summit, And these are curated moments in time when people from all over the world come to speak with each other, coordinate, and decide on not only the trends globally, but actually how to take advantage of these conditions for them to propel their own business objectives. And that's super cool. I mean, some of the talks and the people that we're having here are, the type that you listen on podcasts because they're world class in what they do.
Cutting edge is a good way to describe some of the people that I've seen appearing at Prospera. One of the things that is very interesting to me is how you quickly become a hub of innovation. Can you share a few examples of some people within the zone that are actually, innovating in ways that would surprise people and how they're making this work transformative?
Sure. I'll give you some examples in a fairly wide range of innovative niches. You have robotics manufacturing. We have a robotics factory on premise. They're currently focused on wood products specifically for buildings. So prefabricated building components so that over time we can stack up structures faster, cheaper, and more beautiful than through traditional methodologies. I think we have, two of the most advanced robots, certainly in Latin America, are here in Roatan, and most people don't know that. So advanced robotics, gene therapies, these are the type of therapies that have attracted people like Brian Johnson, a world-class, very successful entrepreneur who has dedicated now his life to figuring out the ways to extend healthy human life. So he travels the world and is able to afford the best therapies. And he has found that some of them he can only get here in Prospera, safe, advanced, proven. So you have things of this nature. You got things maybe that are more in the educational field when it comes to learning technology. Broadly speaking, the Roatan Institute of Technology, which is a Infinita innovation. That's pretty cool in my mind. You have projects that are still within longevity, but more in the human enhancement side of things. So you're able to have, it's right now artistic, but the technology is being proven, open the door to innovations in the dimension of implants. And then crypto is very exciting to me. As I said, I think it's probably the highest potential opportunity since it opens a window to transnational capital. And some of the small projects as pilots include payments intra-Prospera using crypto, and some of it is locally, stable coins created locally. So Infinita itself has created its own currency. And, in the rest of Prospera, those that are willing and able to accept it for payment, they do. So at the restaurants here, you can pay with Infinita's currency, or you can pay with Bitcoin or USDC. I mean, it's really open, and this means that you're open to capital from all over the world. Crypto is global first. I would say these are just some of the examples, Keith, but nothing beats coming and participating in the conferences, meeting people firsthand, and actually learning about the things that they're doing, because there's so much and varied. It would be a long list.
The recent investment from Coinbase Ventures, which people may know Coinbase, but Coinbase Ventures is a side project. It's a venture capital development. How did this partnership come about? It's a huge milestone. And what does it mean in the ability to drive economic freedom on a global scale? Because I see in the news many businesses, and you can see what's going on in the United States, people are trying to find faster, easier ways to cut through the regulations, get to their business, make a profit. Some of this is good, some of this is bad, but that's growth. But in general, if somebody has a chance to make a better life for themselves, they will take it. And you can't do that without a place to go to do that kind of work. So explain Coinbase Ventures and how this has come about, how it helps drive this economic freedom on a global scale.
Sure. Coinbase Ventures is an investment arm of Coinbase, the publicly traded company, which, it's a premier crypto platform. This partnership came about because Brian Armstrong, the founder and CEO of Coinbase, shares a fundamental mission with Prospera and me personally, which is indeed to maximize economic freedom around the world. From speaking with Brian, he got bitten by the bug, if you will, when he spent some time in Argentina, way before Milei, and he really understood the stark difference that it makes when you operate in a system of governance that supports private property, individual liberty, as the U.S. mostly does, versus what he experienced in Argentina with hyperinflation and many other barriers. And he, I think he got in a very visceral way how significant of a human project it is to try to maximize economic freedom. Now, that has been in the DNA of Coinbase and him. And we had the opportunity to meet last year, early in the summer, and just talk. I mean, we were just talking about what we're doing separately. And it became clear to both of us that we're very aligned and that we are addressing the same intended outcome, but in different layers of a stack. So modern civilization driven by economic freedom requires several stacks. Coinbase is dealing with a more open financial system, leveraging crypto, and is extending that through blockchain technology so that ownership, which is obviously at the core of market economies, can be recorded transparently and with trust, not requiring a third party. That's the whole pitch of blockchain. So it's no longer just a crypto exchange. It's no longer just about transacting money. It is about leveraging the blockchain technology as a immutable registry of sorts for ownership of assets and of rights. So contracts are rights and what have you. Prospera has begun at a layer below that, if you will. In partnership with governments, we create prosperity zones that maximize economic freedom, rule of law, and legal stability by addressing the layer underneath, like literally the rules and the regulations that dictate which things can be done legally or not. I mean, you can technologically do something, but as has been the challenge in the U.S. and mostly in the developed world, it takes a while for the legal and regulatory environment to catch up to technology. Prospera's system is a leapfrogging event in that layer because of the paradigm that informs how to structure rules and regulations so as to balance freedom, individual freedom, with collective, let's say, health and safety. So the partnership, I would say, it's a very natural one coming from our core mission. And because of these layers, they stack on top of each other. And when you deploy them in one place, like we are seeking to do here in 25, you have the best of all worlds. You have a legal and regulatory environment that balances individual liberty with collective health and safety, but maximum freedom, and a technological layer that through finance and registries is able to propel access to great minds, but resources to make this thing a reality.
Prospera operates under a unique governance model. So some people may have an idea about what you are, and then most people, I want to imagine, don't. Okay, so in an easy way, if you can, explain how you ensure this model not only benefits the investors, but also the local residents and also the communities, because you have to have everybody on board for this to work, right?
Yeah, and people fear that which is different in part out of not understanding, and clearly that's been part of the challenge. But as they engage more, and we are very open and transparent, as people just take a little bit of time to comment and experience things themselves, it's been 100% success rate so far. A lot of those fears and resistances go away because they get it. And what do they get? What they get is that what we're applying within Prospera are international best practices. These are proven standards for how to regulate and oversee economic activities, commercial activities. We're not dealing in the realm of, family issues or private matters. This is commercial activities. And so it's not that controversial once you understand it. The ZEDE is a special economic zone, which is endowed by the Honduran Constitution to adopt local norms for how to regulate commerce, okay? And the way that Prospera chose to do that is, generally speaking, adopting a reciprocal standard, saying that, if Germany regulates a hospital a certain way, that set of rules is good enough. Like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Same thing for, a factory, same thing for construction. These rules that vary country to country. Here, instead of saying we have the hubris to think we're going to come up with the best rule sets, we say, hey, if it's good over there, it's good over here. So there's a reciprocal approach to regulation. You have to comply, But you have choice. You have choice of law when you enter in contracts, and you have choice of regulation when you deal with public policy matters. Now, the ways in which this benefits the local population and the economy are significant. I would say, let me point three in particular. First, the ZEDE as a special economic zone does collect taxes. It's not a tax-free zone. It collects taxes, and the tax revenue has been going up over time. There's a revenue sharing agreement with the national government and with the municipalities once they're willing to receive the funds. But those are being collected, held in escrow on behalf of the Honduran government. Number two, all of the positive externalities. So all the people that come and visit, they're also spending money, at the airport. They pay airport fees, so that helps, operate the airport. They go on, consume outside and in the restaurants. And then everything that's being done within requires labor and suppliers. So there's an integration with the local supply chains and the economy at large that creates positive spillover effects. It's an economic stimulant. And last but certainly not least, the labor force of companies that are incorporated within Prospera have to have the vast majority of their employees need to be Honduran. 90% is the target, unless it is demonstrated that there's just no Hondurans available for a particular job, but that's a process. So the generation of Honduran employment is itself a legal requirement, and obviously it's a country that could use employment opportunities.
How does Prospera create an environment where entrepreneurs can thrive, especially in regions that don't nationally attract innovation? Because we're basically, if you look at the history of this island for, 150 years, it was ignored by its own country because there was nothing here except a rock with people on it. And all of a sudden it became a resort area. And then all of a sudden people started paying attention to the tax revenue. But traditionally, smaller places have lots of land, lots of opportunity, lots of people who are willing to learn. It seems like that would be something that a government or a country would want to have.
Yes, Keith, the thing is, there's a disconnect in the incentive structure, generally speaking, which is systemic and traditional governance models that are concentrated at some capital in some country, right? I mean, and this happens everywhere. If the center of power is disconnected from the localities where the opportunities and challenges are, they respond to a different set of interests than those of the what you describe about Roatan sounds about, prototypical, right? You have maybe Tegucigalpa with its national interest and requirements, and they go and they spend resources, where they understand that they are, but these faraway places like Roatan has been disregarded from what you're saying. What Prospera enables is a more localized approach to dealing with problems and opportunities, because it creates a political subdivision that is empowered legally to be flexible and has the obligation to address the challenges. So you asked, how do you make a place be attractive to entrepreneurs and to businesses from around the world? Well, you are more responsive to their needs, right? I mean, we focus on legitimate legal enterprises, and all of these people want to know that what they're doing is legal. They don't, when you're cutting edge, it means that you're doing something new and different. So the legal and regulatory environments have not already caught up to it. They don't even define in a lot of countries what a digital asset is, or what crypto is, or what to do with some of these more innovative medical innovations. So legitimate businesses want answers from a governmental entity for how to operate lawfully. If you're focused on a macro set of problems, and this is just like a little thing coming at you, you're clearly not going to be nimble and responsive. But if you have a localized governmental entity that is super aligned and focused in making it their business to make the business environment competitive, then you're more responsive. In the US, this is the whole thing about federalism, right? Having localized government so that you can deal with the needs, not from Washington, but at the states and ideally at the city and the county level. We've moved away from that in the US, but that was the founding principle of the federalist system of governance. This, I think, has that flavor, but within the Honduran constitutional framework, they've allowed and they've created these hyper-local governance entities that are not private companies. These are political subdivisions of the state. The special economic zone itself is a political subdivision of the state, is overseen by the state, is supervised by the state, but it's administered locally, making it more responsive and nimble. And that's a big part in how you make the business environment much more attractive. Obviously, on top of the fact that Roatan is itself a beautiful destination, it has, so many things going for it. It's an edge to give it that global competitiveness that it was missing.
Well, as they say, the only thing certain of change is change. And the other one is people don't like change, but it's good to see it moving in the right direction. Erick, thank you for the time. Erick Brimen, CEO, founder of Prospera, about the new adventure and venture with Coinbase. Thanks for sharing the screen with us today.
Thanks for having me.